Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to talk all about family. How do you say things like my mother or his sister when you're speaking English? Well, to do that, we need to learn some special words. We call them possessives. So, yeah, just think about that for a second. If you want to introduce your family, how do you do it? How do you show that this person is your mother or that person is your brother? Let's figure it out together.
And here's the answer. It's pretty simple, actually. We use possessives. These are just words that show a connection. They show who belongs to whom. So when you say my mother, or your brother, or maybe Ollie's sister, you're using possessives to make those family connections.
Now, there are a couple of ways to do this in English. Let's start with part one, which is all about possessive adjectives. And don't worry about the big name. These are just super common, super useful words like my, your, and his. Take a look at this table. You can see that for every person, like I or you or he, there's a matching possessive word. So I becomes my, you becomes your, and so on. The number one most important rule to remember is that these words always go before the noun, before the person or thing. So we say my mother or his brother.
Let's kick things off with my. It's pretty easy. You use my when you're talking about something that belongs to you, the speaker. For example, you could say, my mother is a teacher, or my sister is 10, or maybe my family is small. See, it's all about me.
Okay, so what about when I'm talking to you? Well, for that, we switch to your. I might ask you, what is your name? Or maybe I'll ask, is your brother at university? Or I could say something nice like, your family is very friendly. Next up is his. Now, listen closely. His is only for a male, a man or a boy. We use it to talk about something connected to him. For example, his father is a doctor. Or if we're talking about our friend Ollie, we could say, Ollie loves his grandmother. And for a female, a woman, or a girl, we use her. It works exactly the same as his, but just for females. So you could say, her mother works at a hospital. Or maybe we're talking about Zainab. We can say, Zainab is visiting her uncle. Now, what about for animals or things? For that, we use its. You have to be super careful with this one. Look, there is no apostrophe. When we're talking about belonging, it's just its. For example, the cat is sleeping in its bed. Or our city is famous for its food. Okay, what if you're talking about a group that includes you? Maybe you and your family, or you and me. Well, then we use the word our. It shows that something belongs to us. For example, our family has dinner together. Or we love our grandparents. And finally, we have their. We use their when we're talking about something that belongs to other people, them. For example, their children go to the same school. Or if we're talking about Ahmet and Aisha, we can say they live with their parents. Fantastic job! So that was the first way to show who owns what. Now let's get into the second way, which is also super, super common. This is how we show that something belongs to one specific person, just by using their name. And you know what? The rule for this could not be easier. You just take the person's name, you add an apostrophe and an S, and then you say the noun. That's it. Name plus apostrophe S plus noun. Let's see how it works. This slide shows the rule perfectly. Look at that first example. Tom's sister is a nurse. All that means is the sister of Tom. It's the same idea for the rest. My mother's name is Fatma. Elif's husband works in Ankara. We're just connecting one person or thing to a specific name. Okay, so you now know two fantastic ways to talk about your family. But, there are a few common mistakes that people often make, so let's take a look at those. If you pay close attention here, it's going to help your English sound really natural. So let's compare. On the left, we have the possessive adjectives we just learned, and on the right, we have the possessives S. So saying his brother is a doctor basically means the same thing as Ali's brother is a doctor. We're just being more specific by using the name. Same thing with her mother and Zainab's mother. Both ways are perfectly correct. All right, this one is so important. This is a very common mistake, so let's make sure we get it right. Remember, it's with no apostrophe is for possession. The cat is in its bed. But it's with an apostrophe is totally different. It's always means it is. Like, it's cold today. And here's another one that can be a little tricky. Sometimes that apostrophe S can also be a short way of saying is. So how can you tell the difference? It's really simple. Just look at the very next word. If a noun comes next, like in Tom's sister, it's about possession. But if a description or a place comes next, like in Tom is here, then it means Thomas is.
Okay, you've learned the rules, you've seen the common mistakes to watch out for, so what's next? Well, you guessed it, it's time to practice. Now it's your turn to use everything you've just learned. So here's how this is going to work. I'll ask you a question, and you can say the answer out loud, wherever you are. Ready? Here's the first one. What is your mother's name? You could say, my mother's name is, and then say her name. Awesome. All right, next question. I want you to think about a male friend you have. Ready? Is his father a teacher? Your answer could be, yes, his father is a teacher. Or maybe, no, his father is a doctor. Great job. Okay, let's try one with her. Think of a famous woman, maybe an actress or a singer that you like. Where is her sister? Now, you might not know the answer, and that's okay. The important thing is just to practice making the sentence. And for our last practice question, think about your neighbors. Are their parents at home? You can answer, yes, their parents are at home, or no, they are not. Fantastic! You're doing great. Well, that brings us to the end. Let's do a super quick summary of what we learned. First, remember those possessive adjectives like my, your, and his? They always come right before a noun. Second, to show possession with a specific name, just add an apostrophe, S, like Tom's sister. And of course, the best way to get really good at this is to practice, practice, practice. So here's my challenge for you. Can you write down 3 sentences about your family using what you learned today? Keep up the great work, and thanks for joining me.